Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Tim Shaw. We're at the Black Cat Lounge tonight. We got a great show for you tonight. I got one of my best friends, my bestest friends in the whole world. One of three. He's already laughing. I've got three friends in the whole world, and he's one of them. And he's probably number two because Winifred's My Chocolate Lab is number one. So I mean, and on a human scale, this guy's still up there. But before we bring him in, I want to thank everybody. I know I thanked everybody beforehand, uh, all the well wishes I had for my all my scans and my stuff today. I had to go through, and all the scopes and everything that that wonderful stuff I had for as my 6 month maintenance. Everything is great. Everything is good. The doctor actually even said this is the clearest you actually you know you've been in since my God, 9 surgeries and all that other stuff, 70 over close to 70 procedures since the old days. So thank you everybody out there. It was great to hear from everybody, and it humbles me. It really humbles me that you guys decided to take the time even to click like or whatever. So I'm in good shape, and all I have to do now is just relax a little bit, get zen, and then I got to go back out on the road because I got some projects that I'm working on. Speaking about projects, we've got a really I wanted to bring everybody out there and say that Dustin Perry will be in town. There's only a couple tickets left. He's going to be at the venue in Depew, New York, at Paranormal Oddities at Joe Piari's place. So it's really great. But I'm not going to listen. I am not going to go, and I'm not going to like talk about a lot about me because why? I like to talk about me anyway. But I want to share with you guys one of my bestest friends in the whole world. And I was so thrilled he wanted to come on the show tonight. And I just don't listen, I don't get enough of this guy. I really don't. Whether it's like we're sitting there laughing with Andrea Perrin until he falls off the chair, or I pee myself, one of those things that happen, or we're on a panel being serious. So, guys, let me welcome to the Black Cat Lounge. And this is his first reincarnation here because he's been on my old show, but this is the first time we're going to actually get a good chance to see this good-looking guy, really. And what I love about it more than anything else is on Facebook. Every so often, my face comes up and his name is tagged. So that must mean I'm the better looking of the two of us. So anyway, welcome my good friend, the Godfather of the paranormal, the haunted collector, the guy who is my go-to guy. I'm not gonna lie. I go to him when I need advice. He always goes and takes care of me. The one and only, the effervescent, the iridescent. It almost makes him sound like a candy cane. Johnny Zaffis. Hey, Johnny.
Hey,
Johnny.
buddy, how are you?
Oh man, it's so good to see you. I don't get a chance to see you that much. And when we were just up at Sault Ste. Marie, we were so busy that
I
we didn't get a
know.
chance to hang at all. I mean, that
It
sucks.
was it was strange that all of us were saying the same thing. Usually we'll all get together, at least have a dinner. Everybody that is
Right.
there.
Yeah.
It didn't happen this time around because all of us were in different directions. Everybody had things going on. So again, it was just that 1 2 1 2. That whole event was just nonstop.
Here's the best part. This is my most favorite moment of the whole event. So we're scheduled. Johnny and I are scheduled to do a panel, right? So I had done two things the night before. Night before, Johnny had been running around. We're standing at Johnny's table talking. All of a sudden, this guy comes running up as fast as he can. He goes, "Guys, you're supposed to be on stage already for the panel." The two of us look at each other, and Johnny goes to me, "Oh, I knew we had enough time." We had to double quicken to get onto the stage. I go in the wrong door. I'm trying to figure out how to get up on the panel. Dustin Perry is like stretching it out. He's like the MC, and that was just hysterical. So we were it was just one of those things. But yeah, that's the life of being at the conference. We didn't get a chance to talk. I
No?
we saw each other in passing a lot on the escalator. You were going down, I'd be going up, or
Yeah.
and it was busy. It was so busy that weekend, and I just
Yeah.
want to let you know that Dave Jones wanted me to tell you that to say hi because Dave
Tell him
says
I said,
he misses you. He misses you a lot.
you, you tell my brother I miss him too.
Oh my God, yeah, and and it was so funny when I went and I said when you said you were going to come on, so I made a banner and I threw it up. I just threw it up on my page. I said, I'll I'll go and I'll really push it, as we get closer to the date. Oh my God, Johnny, I'm just going to tell you something. People were coming out of the woodwork going, oh my God, John's going to be there. Oh my God. And it's like, I didn't know whether I should contact you and like send you a check or if I should just like make a clay effigy of you and put him in put you in my collection so I can light candles in front of you. I didn't know quite what to do,
No,
but here,
okay. If you do that in the future, if you do that, just make sure you have it going back and forth, looking back and forth, going "f you, f you, f you," and everybody will buy it in a heartbeat.
it's so true. It's so true. I remember the days when you were on the road and you were on Haunted Collector and you would give me a buzz going, I can't believe what they did now. Yeah, I can't believe what they did now. And I would be like, oh my God. And you would drop an occasional F bomb, John, an occasional. And my wife Nancy would go, is that Johnny up there? Is that Johnny on speaker? I said, yeah, it is. That's to know Johnny is to exactly love Johnny. And that's what we love about the whole thing. But Johnny, listen, I gotta, it's so funny when
Now wait a minute. How's
oh,
my Nan? How is she?
Nanny is doing great. Nanny's
You
taking
tell her I send my love.
I definitely will. You know what? Now that we're in the new house and I've been able to go and put all my haunted collections out and all my other collections out, she says to me, she goes, this doesn't bother me at all. I feel like Johnny Zaffis is walking through here. I said, well, come on. What are we, 3 months apart in age? We both
Yeah.
got the same hairline. We could be. I remember you introduced me. We were at Mansfield Reformatory, and you introduced me as your brother. And that guy kept asking me, so what was Johnny like when he was a kid? I looked at him. I said, he was as effed up then as he is now. he would just look at me and like didn't know what to say.
How do you come back at something like that? You can't.
That's true, I mean, what can I say? But you're one of those guys that has not changed. I've watched a lot of people that have really. I met them years ago, and then over the years they change. Personality wise, you've never changed. It's always been, who you are. This is what you get, and I think that is what is so endearing. That's why I think so many people really love John Zaffis. And it's that realism. It's that down to earth. And I think that, and another reason I think that's really something that so makes you so effective when you're out there doing this work because you don't pull any punches. And Johnny, back in the day when I first started doing a lot of my hoodoo voodoo, let's cleanse this
Hmm.
place stuff. Um, I used to be a little bit more, as the late Raymond Buckland would say, fluffy. I used to be a little bit more fluffy. And then I met you. And I realized at that point, fluffiness is bullshit. It really is. You need to get out
That's
there. You need to set everything straight. You put it on the table. If they don't like it, you walk away and say, find somebody else. And I
yep.
learned that. I learned that from you. And it's a tough love thing. And uh, I got to thank you for that because you've gotten me out of that little bit of advice has gotten me out of so many different difficult situations. And
Well,
yourself.
thank you, bud. Thank you.
And yourself. People lie and all that other stuff. So you never know. And my dear friend Miss Aida, who I love and adore, and she is on say John and Tim are the real deal. Now that's high praise coming from Miss Aida. Miss Aida is a good friend. And she is a hoodoo practitioner, and
Hmm.
she's so knowledgeable, and I love her to death. But anyway,
Thank
Johnny,
you.
Johnny, I gotta go and I got 1,001 questions. I asked people to go and send me, just send me some Johnny Zaffis questions, so that I could go and and let make. I would say let this show be theirs because Johnny, you and I, we get together and we share a couple beers and then and I'm not lying about Johnny falling off of a sofa with 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 Andrea Perrin, and I almost peed
I,
myself. We laughed
you
so
know,
hard.
with it, again too, Annie's one of those types of people. Just we're we click. What I love about Annie is the fact I can horse around with her. We can joke around. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
She says whatever she wants. I say whatever I want to say. But it's our humor. It's our friendship, the way it's always been. I mean, again, it's just so funny. You'll laugh. One day we were there was a little video. I don't even know what the heck happened to it. To this day, I still laugh at it. We were standing there talking, and she came up behind, and she was standing there, and she was just smiling. And I said to the person, I said, "Uh oh, somebody's looking for a UFO." I said, "They're looking up. No, that's a bug that's flying by. That's not it." She looked right at me. She goes, "I'm going to kick your ass." It was the most. It's still out there
Oh,
somewhere. I spit. I was laughing so hard I was crying. But again, there's a lot of people like that. Tim, that's like you and I. You
yep.
and I could say anything we want to each other, and it's not going to turn into. It'll be like, well, gee, to me, that's what friendships are about. You could
You're
talk to
right.
each other. You could say
You're right.
things, and especially if it's something that needs to be said, and the next day you're back on the phone. I mean, that it's just I don't know. It's far and few in between with some of us within
Hmm.
our own field here that are like that. I took to you that day in that museum up at Lilydale, and that was it.
Oh my God, yeah. That's what it was so funny. I remember
Huh?
I remember I was working. I had done some cases, some interesting negative cases.
Huh?
And I had read your book and I went and I said, "This guy's coming to Lilydale. Holy F, I got to see this guy." So I'll always remember you had some questions. I raised my hand and it was about ITC. And you looked at me and real sternly you looked and goes, "There's always someone in the audience that'll do that." And I was like, holy shit, I just got yelled at by Johnny Zaffis. And I didn't know your humor at the time. And you explained real well. And then afterwards, I saw you up. You were on the porch of I always remember you were on the porch of the Maplewood
Yeah.
Hotel, and you called
Huh?
me over, and we discussed it, and we were talking about it, and we've been friends. We've been friends ever since, and
Huh?
that was just great. And oh, I got a question from the Peanut Gallery. Dave Jones wants, what face cream do you use to stop the aging process? He ain't changed a bit. That's true. You listen,
I
listen.
don't.
That's either you're looking good or you were like ugly before, and you still haven't changed. That's what it is, John.
Aga I don't know. Everybody always says that. They'll look at me, or I'll put something up, and they go, "You haven't aged in years.
No,
You
you
still
haven't.
look the same."
You haven't.
And I don't know what it is that. I don't know. I maybe all at once everything's just going to completely fall down, and then that's going to be the end. I don't know.
I got to come back for that one, Johnny. But we are not going there tonight. we are not. We are definitely not going there. And as everybody can tell, Johnny and I really, I think this is, you know, I think what I mostly love about what our banter and what we do is we both inherently know when it's serious time, when we need to go. And
Hmm.
again, I just called Johnny up the other day, and I needed validation on something that I was going to do. And we're very serious about it. But then when it's time to go and just breathe, we laugh so much, and I think that's what's missing a lot of out of the paranormal. Have you noticed that, like, there's getting more and more serious people again? Because it goes in cycles. Back in the day, it was very, very serious, and everybody, had the frowns on, and everybody was, we're going to do it, for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And then it got lighthearted, and we flourished. And now it's than it used to be. Johnny,
Yeah. You there?
can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh,
Hold on. Let's see if we get you again.
you want to reboot?
We may go after.
I'm going to reboot.
And we'll come back in a couple seconds. And we're working again. This again. I think what's happening is it's getting a little crazy. The I would say Mercury retrograde is having a little problem again. So we're just gonna go and there we
Now,
are.
Tim, I think we got it.
How's this? We got it back in.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, you're
Whew.
clearer now, too.
Well, of course I'm clearer. It was psychic. I was see what was happening, Johnny. You got me all excited, and I was sending out all these waves, and it interfered with the internet. It just blew out. What can I
You
tell
made
you?
it. You made it crash, Tim.
Son of a huh. That Facebook crash yesterday, that wasn't Zuckerberg. That was me. That was me, baby. That was me. Okay.
Uh,
Let me ask you this. We were just talking about the paranormal field is starting to get a little more heavier than it used to be. Uh, do you agree with that? Do you think that people are starting to lose their humor, their overall humor, when it comes to working cases and self importance?
uh, I don't. It's difficult when I take the step back because I have a hard time with the fact that so many people are diving in and getting involved with this stuff, with this work, and it, it's almost like where the whole element of communication, the whole element of learning and talking to people has disappeared. And it just seems like to me, again, when I take that step back and look at it, a lot of elements of different things are gone. But again, the field has ramped up so much now. There's so many people involved. We need that. I'm not saying, I'm disgruntled or anything over, people being in the field or anything, but I look at it and I view things probably a lot differently now. I know I'm a lot more guarded, I
Mm-hmm.
think, than I have been, in the past because it makes me nervous because I don't know a lot of times what a person's motive or intent is. And I always stick to my basic 101. If I'm involved with a case or I'm doing something with helping people and there's kids involved and things like that, that's my priority. Um, I work on a tremendous amount of things that never see the day of light, as far as investigations and people I work with and stuff like that, where I find today a lot of times people want to jump right away into the forefront. Okay, this is a major case. There were spiritual people involved, clergy, anybody. Oh, we got to get that filmed. Oh, we got to get that on TV. Oh, we got to get.
Exactly.
I still don't look at it that way, Tim. I still, again. And a lot of time, here's the running and funny thing. Cher's home now too. She's retired, and she's been, and for years and years, she used to say to me, "What do you do all day out there?" I go, "What do you think I do? Sit, watch porn? What do you think I'm doing?" And it was always the running joke with us, right? Then now it's like 4 or 5 different times she'll come out during the day, and I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. And one day I finally went back in, and I go, "What?" She goes, "You are always on that phone." And I go, "Well, I told you that." I said, "What?" I said, "It's continuous." I said, "That's just, the way it is with me." But anyhow, it's just funny like that. That's another thing that, I have a hard time with that, because I still have a landline in the house, and I won't give it up. I will not give up that landline. I think talking to a person or having that communication with individuals is very important. It's an element that, is disappearing, because
Right.
everybody just wants to go back and forth by email or
Hmm.
message, and it makes something it's not a good thing. It's not a good element,
I agree.
but it is what it is. I'm sitting back just watching everything like everybody else, and just I think it's gonna be a big fallout. Probably a
Eventually.
little.
Yeah,
Yeah, eventually we're
I
gonna
think so.
see things where you're gonna see those different things start to occur and happen with how everything has really opened up with a lot of stuff.
I got a I got a great question from our mutual friend Nicole Walton. Miss,
Fly, fly. Now look at the picture of her right there. Who does
yes,
she remind you of?
I'm not going there. I'm not saying
No,
that.
it's
I'm
not bad.
afraid.
No,
I'm
she.
afraid.
No, I've always teased her. I love her to death. She's a dear, dear friend. She's like family. But there was at one point in time, she just reminded me of Bette Midler.
Oh
The way
yeah,
she
you're
had her.
right. Yeah, you're right with the hat. Yeah,
But
she does look at.
she insists she doesn't look anything like her.
No,
But
I would say she looks like Bette Midler. I think so.
a little bit. Now, I know
What does
not a
everybody
lot or
think
anything.
out there? What does the rest of the peanut gallery think of it?
She's gonna kill me.
She's gonna kill. Listen, she's gonna kill both of us. That's the way. That's just the way she is, you know. But
Well, she's
anyway,
a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart.
she go, Johnny. What would you like to see more people doing in the paranormal field right now?
Uh, I think gaining knowledge. Really? Yes, she is. I got to
Yeah,
agree with that. That's 100% true.
that's right, Miss
Okay.
Aida.
Uh, I think the process of the learning, the process of those connections. And I always, Tim and I, you and I've talked about this many a times. People always looked at my aunt and uncle, Ed and Lorraine, as very staunch, Roman Catholic. That was their belief system. They practiced their Catholicism,
Hmm.
and they stood by that. But they worked with so many different religions and so many different people. I met rabbis, Buddhists, shamans. I've met so many people through
Hmm.
them with different things they would work on and different things they would do, that's what made me go back down that road and take that step back and revere. And I
Right.
do.
I
I
agree.
revere so many different things that people do and people practice out there. I mean, the Native American tradition, Tim, you've heard me talk about this a million times. I've been involved with several different ceremonies and different practices and things out there. I'm intrigued by it. And the biggest thing that I think is missing today is the fact that people don't understand a lot of belief systems. They don't, you know, even have,
Exactly.
yeah, they just,
Exactly.
it's just not there. I mean, again, just talking to people in general, and talking basics 101 when we talk about spirituality, and people can't answer those questions, but yet they're going on TV as an expert, or they're in one part or another of the field. I cringe. I
Yep.
cringe.
I do
I
too.
cringe. But it's Hollywood, again, and
They're and they're
it
looking.
is what
You
it
know
is.
it. they're looking for the big pop. That's what they're looking for. And I have to agree with you. You know, it's something I did learn from you. It's like what bothers me more than anything else is people are not multifaceted when they attack a problem. When I have a case of when I have a case in front of me, I
Hmm.
attack it from whatever angle I think I can make the most ground. And people are what I'm seeing now is two things. Either they're so myopic within their own belief system that they discount anything else that's out there, or
Hmm.
they have no belief system whatsoever and they
Hmm.
have nothing for them to refer to, you know?
No
And
middle. There's no middle.
yes,
The
exactly.
middle is
Exactly.
gone. It's gone. You know, Tim, I didn't think about that till you just said that. There it is. There it. Yeah, actually, you and I were just talking a little bit about
Yep.
this the other day,
Yeah, we
and
were.
it's like, it's a hard. Again, I'm used to the simple fact of, I'm Roman Catholic. I practice that. Kumbaya. That's me. Not everybody else is, but I enjoy working with everybody else with different belief systems and
I
different
do too.
practices. I've learned so much over the years to appreciate and understand a lot of that. But you know, uh, when you don't have anything that's even in the middle, where you're keeping open minded about things,
Exactly.
which is something I see to be a major, major issue today, then, I take that step back now because it's like, I don't know. I don't know what else I can really do, to get people to understand things like that. But it's hard. It's so hard, and it's so difficult
It
because,
is.
and I'm not. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, you know, and people laugh at me when they say, do you realize more of my friends are pagan and Wiccan, witches, Buddhists, rabbis, ministers, shamans? I am so close with some of these people, and listening to them, and what they have to say or what they have to bring forward to be able to resolve something is so important, and it brings so much to the table in our work, you know.
It
But
does.
it,
Well, you know,
it,
what John, what kills me more than anything else is the fact that people will go and we're taught. I know I was taught from an early age that this religion that I was in is the only true religion. Instead of looking for the commonalities between all of the religions, and if you start looking at all of the religions, you start seeing so much that crosses over. And the only difference is, and I always remember, I worked with an exorcist from the Western Rite Catholic Church,
mhm.
and we were having lunch one day, and and I mean, as a spiritualist, as a card carrying, god darn member of the spiritualist church, I had my card in my hand, and I said, I don't believe in angels, and I don't believe in demons. And he goes, well, what do you call like that finer energy? I said, well, that's the finer energies of the personality. What is that
uh,
lower stuff? Well, that's like more coarse energy. He goes, what the hell are we talking about? It's the same thing, Shaw. What's wrong with you? And
there you
at that
go.
point, the little bulb came over my head, and I went, oh. And now you start seeing the crossovers between Catholicism and what you see in hoodoo and voodoo, and you start seeing it in
Mhm.
Santeria, and you start seeing it in the
Yeah.
Islamic traditions, like the jinn. Oh my God, the jinn, and
Uh,
all this
uh,
stuff. You start realizing it, and all of a sudden now, once you realize it, it's like I have all these tools that I can at my disposal that I can use to work on this case. You
mhm.
know, and that's what I love about it.
Mhm.
I love about it.
Tim, I'm going to ask you a question here
Sure.
because you're one of the best people I could think to ask this.
First of all, I mean, do I have to take one of my proton energy pills? Huh? Do I got to take one of my proton energy pills to answer this question? I don't know if I can answer it. I haven't. I have no alcohol in front of me whatsoever, so I don't know if I can answer this question. But go ahead.
I forgot what the hell I was going to ask you.
Oh my God! Can you guys tell that we're almost the same age? He's a little older than me, but You know,
And the worst part is we're not in a bar right now either.
oh my God, Johnny. Well, you'll get it. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Oh, okay. Here's
Okay. Okay.
this is what Tim. We all know a lot of things. We've learned a lot of things over the years.
Right.
Different methods, different practices, and a lot of the knowledge that we've gained working with different people and the things that they will do. And when some of these spiritual people you're working with or you're dealing with, no matter what the belief system is, and they ask you to respect that and not put that out into the forefront
Right.
because they feel it will cause more damage than actually
Agreed.
help
Agreed.
anybody. What's your take on that? How do you feel about that?
That's 100% respect. If I'm being taught something that is hidden knowledge for a group, I will never disclose it. I will never
Hmm.
tell anybody about it. I'm not above using it because I always say, I'm teaching you this for a reason.
Hmm.
But you are someone, and I've had this happen a couple times where people have said, listen, we respect you because you respect us and our traditions so deeply that, and
Hmm.
yet you're not of our religion or of our traditions if we're working
Hmm.
witchcraft. I appreciate it if you don't spread this knowledge. It's almost like a book of shadows. I'll have a worker open up her book of shadows and share that information with me
Right.
on the condition that I only use it and I don't tell anybody else how to use it. And I have to make sure that I don't disclose it. And I think it's how we uh, gain the respect of others. And it's the same thing. I've gotten invited to several rituals
Hmm.
of different denominations,
Hmm.
and I've taken part. You know, I don't think twice about it. I'm right out there.
Hmm.
Taking part in it. It's a school of experience,
Yeah.
and I come back and I don't tell anybody what happened.
Hmm.
People are really like, "Whoa, what? I know you went up there, and I know that they were having this ritual. What was it all about?" Can't tell you because it's
That's
it's
right.
like sometimes it's a purification ritual, sometimes it's a trance thing. So you don't want to go and you're honoring orishas or you're honoring a different deity or even a saint. I mean, even there's some things in Catholicism that they go and they don't want you to just to take out and spread out to
Correct.
the general public. So I
Correct.
mean, I
Huh?
I believe that respect is the number one thing that we need to cultivate in order to learn. And a lot of people say, well, you're doing a disservice to everybody by not sharing it. No, I'm
No.
not.
No, you're
I
not.
will go and I will ask. If somebody wants to learn, I will go to that person that taught me and ask, would you? And usually it's on like the same thing with you. If you
Hmm.
recommend somebody, they know that this is a person that is interested, they are worthy, they will respect it, then they'll teach them on that, on your word, on your reputation, that it will not get spread around. And I mean, I'll never recommend anybody for anything that I don't think that they're ready for, or they may be wanting to profit from it, or you know what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta really think about that.
Okay. Again, you and I parallel, and there's just so many different times that I take that step back and I just look at the big picture of the
Right,
whole scenario. What do you want that knowledge for? What are you going to do with it? Is it doing something that isn't a positive?
right,
Again,
right. See,
that's how I am with a lot of things because again, I come up against the same thing. I have people say, well, you don't always say a lot of the stuff that you get involved with, and I go, no, and I'm not gonna.
no,
And therefore, you know that it's again, it is. it is what it is with people. I think we learn from what we've all been involved with,
Exactly.
and we understand things. You know, there's Cody. There's Mr. Cody.
And and his lovely fiance is also on too, just to let you
You
know.
know, you know what's so cool about these two. Cody, I call him Beanie. I've known him for years and years
Oh,
and years.
that's his new nickname for me now. He's in
I've
trouble.
Now, I said to him, I said, hope you don't mind the old man calling you Beanie. He goes, no, sir, I don't mind you calling me Beanie.
I
Because
love when
he
he
goes, then he said to me, he goes, you've always called me Beanie as far back as I can remember. I go, yeah, that's true. Now with the, you know, that I refer now because it's the running joke. Uh, Again, I just refer to Santerre as Hawes. She's a Hawes.
yeah,
You
she's
know,
a hog.
oh, she gets the biggest kick out of me because when we're together, I start talking about when she was little and everything, and I don't go into the paranormal. I start talking about family and when they were little and everything, and seeing them all run around and everything. But they're cool kids.
Yeah,
I
they're
think they're
good.
doing a fantastic job. Just had an opportunity to do some stuff with them recently, and they just blew me out of the water.
They're
They,
just I have to tell you what. I mean, I had met Cody through Dustin years ago, and I just thought he was great. And Dustin said, "Well, he's a collector too." I said, "No kidding." And he had this little collection,
yeah,
and we started talking. I sent him some stuff, and he
yeah,
sends me stuff, and it's so great. It's like this. I feel like I've known the two of them forever,
yeah.
and they both call me sir, and I'm like, "Don't call me sir. Zaffis is sir. Don't call me sir, because Zaffis is old. He's older than me. He's
It's
older
so
than me."
funny you're saying that too because I just got done telling. I said, "Don't call me Mister Zaffis, call me Johnny." I said, "I prefer Johnny over anything." But anyhow, it's good to work with them.
Yeah, yeah,
They
I
had me
agree.
so energized and so entwined into everything that we were up at the Conjuring house, and it had a blast, had a good time, and it was great to hang out with them.
They're good. They're just great kids. I love them, and I wish them so much success. And you know what? And I mean, you and I, we're getting long in the tooth. We're getting all grumpy and curmudgeon like. And it's so wonderful to see the next generation coming up and have that pure love like we did back in the day. When we first started doing all this stuff, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Johnny and I both had hair at that time. Not a lot, but we had hair. And I mean, it's so refreshing, and that's what I love. And hey, I got a question from Cody because this is like such a mutual admiration society.
What's Beanie asking now?
That damn beanie is asking, what is one bit of investigative advice that you think has been lost over the years? That's a good question. I got a little something on that one, but go ahead because you are the guest. You are the effervescent, the iridescent. You are the man, the myth, the legend. You are the true Johnny Zaffis. I'm just the
You're,
true. I'm just an imitation of you. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see how serious we when we're together.
like I say, we're not even drinking. That's the worst part about it.
I know. This is what happens. You know what I mean? This is what
But
happens.
I think the an important thing with investigating is your basics. Try to find out where a person's at. Find out, what the person believes in, what they don't believe in. Is there a drug problem, alcohol problem? Is there any type of abuse? A lot of times when I speak to researchers and I throw these questions out, they'll go, well, I don't even know if I should ask them something like that. And I go, these are very, very important things. And they're key elements to understanding things with it. Psychology 101 is very important within this work because that helps to filter through things to see what we're actually dealing with. Because people say to me, Johnny, what do you do if you find out there's actual physical abuse or neglect or an animal is being abused or something like that? I don't have any qualms on calling anybody. I'm sorry. I would definitely do something like this. Here's a story. Wow, that I'm going to share. We were working on an investigation. It was the wintertime. It was for Ed and Lorraine Warren. I had gone out in the backyard and they had a dog out there. The chain was maybe this long between holding the dog down. The water was frozen in its dish. It had no food. It was shaking and trembling. I was freaking out, and it was a mess. One of the other researchers calls up Lorraine and said, "We can't calm Johnny down because he's freaking out in the backyard over a dog." And she goes, "What do you mean?" And he came out and he handed me his cell phone, and she goes, "You put that dog in your car right now." And I did. I took the car, brought it up. Lorraine had brought it down to the shelter and was able to find it a home and everything. And let me tell you something. When she got done with that family, that was the end of that. And,
I bet. I bet.
but these are important elements that should go past you worrying about getting a freaking EVP or getting a orb or whatever it is that everybody jumps up and down about. But it's the 101 on checking things and making sure a child is okay, that the animals
Right.
are okay, or is there something you could do. So, for Cody, that's probably about the best thing I can tell you. That keep with you and always use as
Exactly.
guiding you to being able to help somebody out if they are having a paranormal problem.
People don't. I think the biggest problem that I run into is people don't look at the backstory. To me, as an interviewer, I've always been so interested in backstories.
Hmm.
And I mean, you and I mean, I probably picked your brain about your backstory for years and years and years. And may I say your backstory, you've been doing a lot of squats, you've been building up that backstory, but we won't go any further about that, Johnny. But uh really, you have to look at all the basics. You got to, just because you walk into a freaking house with a recorder and you get an EVP, that means shit in the long run. I mean, you've got to be able to go and understand who, what, where, and why. You got to put it all together, and that is what people are really starting to go and kind of miss, and they're looking for the thrill. And what we do is not a we're not doing a haunted house or a thrill ride, right, Johnny?
I'm not. Again, um, I've never changed. I've always kept that element that I was always taught from the age of 16. What am I interested in? In trying to help somebody. If I can help them to resolve something on a spiritual level, I'm still,
Exactly.
that's still me.
Exactly.
Tim, and I get yelled at from a lot of people about a lot of things. And one of the things, a habit I picked up, and it's not a very good habit, I'll go out, I'll investigate, I will do something, I will get people help or something like that. I don't document things, I don't record things. It's
Oh
not
my God.
healthy.
The two of
It's
us are the
not,
same. I
it's
have
not.
I've got, you know what I have? I have pages. I have books and logs just full of notes that I have not just I just make the notes and that's it.
Hmm.
I don't really go out of my way for it.
Hmm.
And it's because I guess the end result is far more important than the journey in between to me. People will go, "Oh, well, geez, well, Tim, you did a séance and this happened or the table moved or whatever." Big deal. I don't care. What's the end result? I was there to do X, Y, and Z. The
Hmm.
end result is X, Y, and Z. So
Hmm.
this is what's important to me, not anything in the middle. Because I think guys like you and I, we've been around the block so many times that we know every crack in the sidewalk. So
Just about.
yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing to us. I think
Mm.
that's. I think you were. I'm telling you, Johnny. You know what? I'm just going to warn you, if I show up in plaid Bermuda shorts to the next event you're at, and you've got plaid, you got plaid shorts on. I'm just going to tell you what. I'm retiring from the field because we will be too in sync. I got a question from Dan Kless, and Dan Kless is a great guy. He's the owner of the Hinsdale
Yes.
House. I love this
Yes, he
guy to
is.
death. He is,
Hey,
and
buddy.
I just told him just today what we were there this weekend, and what a wonderful job he's doing out there. I just from when my buddy Joe and I first went out there in 2011 to what it looks like now, it is phenomenal. And his question is it wise to bring home souvenirs from ghost hunting trip? This is a good question. What could go wrong? Oh, oh, you Johnny, you and I, we we have like certain ways of doing things. So, uh, okay, it's a little different. It's hard to say, but boy, Johnny, that's a loaded that's a loaded question. Well, so let's just say your average paranormal investigator picks something up at a haunted location. Should he go and bring it home, or should he perhaps just leave it there?
It's difficult to a lot of times comprehend why somebody would really, want to. I agree with you, Dan.
Dan, no, no, I'm not going. Just go. Keep talking, Johnny. Keep talking.
I love it. I love it. Anyhow,
Oh,
I think again, um, w- a lot of people collect things and they don't have any. They don't have any issues.
right.
I think if you're going to start having a lot of issues bringing things, now I don't have anything in the house. All my stuff is out in the barn or the other barn because there's two barns on the property. But you know, um, I'm very guarded. I'm very cautious
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of that. Now, the other flip side of it is that I'm very guarded and careful with, especially when you start bringing in the whole family element. And what I mean by that is then, once everybody else in the family's starting
Right.
to get exposed,
Right.
that's a link, you got to be able to catch that. And you got to be able to watch what is happening. Because once you're granting permission, whether it's something that might be attached to an item or bringing something in, you got to be guarded and you got to be careful. But it's hard. I mean, it's a difficult thing for me to even say anything because I'm notorious for picking up rocks all over the place.
Oh
Yeah,
my. Yes. Yes.
yeah, and
Pieces of
I just have
mortar.
I got a huge rock collection. So again, I pick up rocks from anyways, but uh, it's hard to say. It's a hard thing for me to answer something like that because some people can handle it, other people can't, and it's viewed at and looked at a lot differently by different people and the way they handle things.
You know what, Johnny? Out of all the things I've collected, I've only had problems with it once, and we talked, and I understood what was going on, and I think we both, I think you, me, and Calvin Von Crush, he's a pretty world class collector. He's not a believer, but he's a collector.
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
think that we all came up with the same thing. We love and respect every piece that we bring into our home,
Hmm.
or into our collection. I mean, I'm looking over the top of my laptop here, and I mean, I can see my cabinets that are overflowing. If you look behind me, you see my cabinets overflowing with other collections.
Uh,
And I think there's a lot to it when it comes to how we look at these objects. And I think what a lot of people do is they pick these things up as a curiosity without having any kind of like spiritual background on it, and then turn around and allow this stuff to kind of just get crazy. I mean, and sometimes it may not even have, and you taught me this. It may not even have a spiritual being or personality attached to it. It just could be some nasty ass energy,
hmm.
and
Yeah.
it can amp stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to know how to handle it. You got to know how, if you run into problems with it, you got to know how to contain it, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to love it. You really have to love it. And I love everything. I got 72 Ouija boards here. People come in and go, "Oh my god, I love my Ouija boards. I love my Ouija boards. I can't help it." You know,
You're
and
catching up to merch.
no, no, he's got about 5,000. I got a
I know.
long way to go. I got a long way to go to Bobby Merch. But I mean, I love that guy too. But I mean,
No,
I
great people.
mean, it's you have these collections, but people don't understand the psychology behind it, and the spiritual intention behind it, I think. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think guys like you and I, we don't have the problems that other people have and it's, again, there's nothing I love more than adding a piece to my collection
Mm-hmm.
and just saying, and I say it out loud. I welcome you right to the collection. Thank you so much for being here. And I've got stuff that people swear, and I'll be honest with you, I've seen an arm of a doll actually move. I have the doll here. It's never moved in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because we respect it. And I think that's what it is. You know,
Well, I got to kind of, I got to kind of, yes, you're making me think a little bit about something because people often say that. Don't you have all kinds of activity? Don't you have this and that happening? And I'll go,
yeah.
to be perfectly honest with you, if it does occur and it is happening, I probably wouldn't pay attention to it. Again,
You're
it's
like
just,
me. We are like haunted
yeah,
object savants. We
yeah.
don't see it. We don't hear it.
Again, a funny story. One of the old time researchers, and we go back 40 plus years. He was up visiting. He lives down south now. He was sitting here. I was on the phone. I was trying to do something else. Boom, 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 boom. Somebody comes up the stairs. Bang, rattle. He sat there. He looked at me. I looked at him. I got off the phone and everything. And he goes, "Didn't you hear that?" And I went, "What?" He goes, "The walking up the." I went, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "Then something banged like it crashed." And I went, "Yeah, so is something broken out there? What?" And he goes, "Oh." He goes, "You're numb to everything now." And I go, "Pretty much, buddy, pretty much." I go, I just don't I just don't pay attention to a lot of things that go on around me. I just
See,
don't.
I'm the same way. I'm exactly the same way. And I think it's because of the fact that we've worked in it so long. And the other thing is that, like, I mean, I don't do anything special. I walk into these nasty houses. I don't do the bubble thing over the top of me. I don't do the prayer to Saint Michael or anything, because everything comes from me the way I was taught, from the inside out.
Mhm.
And I believe that that has an insulating factor to it. Every so often something might happen, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's like when I don't think I told you this, when I was in when we were up at Sault Ste. Marie, I opened up my suitcase, and I found an old a beer bottle opener. And there's no way that the thing would have gotten in there. I have no idea. My father-in-law was a big collector. When he passed
Mhm.
away, my mother-in-law passed away. We sold everything on site. I never took any of this stuff home, but yet it was a local thing that he would have had in his collection.
Hey,
So it
hey,
could be an A port, it could be, transmutation of matter, it could be anything like that.
huh?
But it was so funny because I'm standing there and I'm looking there, and I had all my stuff out in the bed laid out, and I'm looking at this thing going, son of a bitch, Fred, you're telling me terrific, And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you just go on with the rest of your day. It means it's not so
I know.
shocking.
Yeah, it really isn't. I mean, just the other day, and I had posted it because I laughed. I stood out in my yard laughing. The property is up near a highway, and we have a lot of people throw stuff out their car
Hmm.
windows. We know how that goes and everything.
Oh
There
yeah.
was this little flag, a little tiny white flag with a J on it. And I got the biggest kick out of it. It was like, what are the chances of something like that blowing into the yard and just randomly sitting there, knowing I'm going to go my once a week pickup, trash pickup in the back on the hill from
Yeah.
people throwing junk out there? But it tickled me so much. But it was like, okay, is there something? again, like you said, is there something that's tying in? Was there a message? Was there something somebody was trying to convey? I don't know, but I'll find out if it ties in with anything.
Exactly. And that's, you know what? I think what it is we have to be more, well, I always tell people the difference between mediums and everybody else is that mediums and psychics pay closer attention to things. And
Hmm.
I think like in our case, when it comes to like collecting things, we pay a little bit more attention to these things. So when we do have an occurrence, it's like we file it in our brain for later on. Perhaps something else will go to it. It's like people that find, that find dimes. You'll love this one, Johnny, because we're old. This is an old man story. So I go to my test. I gotta go for the scope today. I gotta go for my twice yearly cystoscope because you remember all the problems
Yeah.
I had. So
Yeah.
my urologist surgeon walks in. What's the first thing he says to me? Well, did you see any goddamn ghosts? And I'm telling him, and he goes, "Let me tell you a story. My girlfriend, she every time she feels that is communing with one of her dead relatives, a dime shows up." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then I realized the one day he goes, I thought to myself, "Wait a minute, my one patient, Tim, he's into that. I'm going to ask him." He goes,
Hmm.
"What happens this morning? I open up the door and there's a friggin' dime on my seat of the car."
See?
Like our friend Chip Coffee would say, the synchronicity. This could be anything. It could be a sign. It could be like you have a hole in your pocket. It's 1,001 things, but you just file it away for another day.
Hmm.
That's what you do, and
Yeah.
look for, if there is a connection, you have it. If there's no connection, then well, there's no connection. That's the way it works. It's a
Hmm.
coincidence. But yeah,
Yeah.
Johnny, I'm keeping you like way past your bedtime. I know that you're Johnny.
8 o'clock. I don't go to bed at 8 o'clock. You.
I figured
Maybe
you're
in another 20 years.
I figured you're oh, then I'll keep you on for a little while longer.
We can go. I'm comfortable. I'm happy here. We got good convo going here, bud.
Listen, your porridge will be a little cold by the time you're ready for it, but because I got some questions. I really do have some questions.
Hmm.
Uh, I got words. Oh, my buddy Chris, he wanted to know, and I know that you were part of the later uh, Conjuring House investigations. You had actually gone in there. He wanted to know, and I already know what your opinion is, because we talked about this about the haunting in Connecticut and all that stuff, which you were a
Hmm.
part of. What's your opinion of the Hollywoodization? That's the way I'll say it. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
made up word of these really nasty ass cases.
Okay. And again, I'm fortunate enough that, I can go way back in time here and stop and think about it. When, excuse me, when Amityville came out, the entity, The Devil in Connecticut, the original movie that was on
Right.
TV. You stop and think about all of these different movies that were made over the years. The Haunting in Connecticut, any of them. You know, are they blown out of proportion? Absolutely. That is Hollywood. Okay. The best way and the best analogy I could ever come up with is we're going to go, oh, Amityville. Oh, I want to go see Amityville. If you sat there for 2 freaking hours, nothing's happening outside of them crying, screaming, and arguing, what are you going to do? You're going to knock the movie. You're going to go, blah, blah. Now, today it's even worse. We go out to see these movies and watch these movies. The first thing we're going to do is get home and tweet or Facebook, don't waste money to go see these movies. That movie, it's boring. It's not that good. So if there isn't Hollywood hype, chairs aren't levitating up in the air, people aren't getting thrown all over the place, and these things happening, we're not going to want to go see it. What do we want to see in a horror movie? We want to get scared. I want to get scared. I want my popcorn to fly up when I get scared. I've never changed. I still love getting scared going to these movies. So that's, again, it is what it is. They take some of the elements of the cases and they intertwine them. Now, again, Conjuring 1. I've been in that house, I don't know how many times now. Did I work on the original investigation? No. But I did know Andrea. We did meet, many, many years ago. But over the course of the years, we've actually the entire family. I've got to be very good friends with Annie. Annie is again.
You've
Uh,
got you've gotten to be. Let me just interject something. There is nothing funnier than you going up to Papa Roger going, you know, I I I could be your son-in-law.
yeah, but you don't know. You don't even know the funnier part.
Oh, I
You
don't
remember?
even.
Okay, yeah. This is so comical and it's so funny. We were all of the girls, all four girls, and
Mhm.
Roger were up at the Michigan Paracon, and we were joking and everything like that. And I go, Roger, I said, what am I going to, I say, Andy's getting jealous because I'm talking to the other girls. Take them all! Take them all! And I go, I don't know if Andy's going to like that. I said, that would be sister wives. Oh, it was hysterical the rest of the weekend. I was calling them all my sister wives the rest of the weekend. And Roger said, take them, take them, take them. I've been dealing with them all these years. But anyways, anyhow, getting back on track a little bit, it, The Conjuring 1 was probably the ultimate. I remember going to
Yeah,
see it. It
I agree.
it
I
was
agree.
good. It was very well done. Conjuring 2, I always felt bad because Ed and Lorraine took a big beating behind that one. People kept saying they weren't involved with it and they didn't investigate it. And that's not a truth. Ed was over there with two of the guy researchers. They spent several days over there. Ed and Lorraine had been over to that house several times over the course of the years, so they were involved with it. So again, yeah, it is what it is with some of that stuff. Conjuring 3. The Glazzo case, very familiar with it. I did not work directly on that one, but familiar with it. Met several of the people. Again, it's one of those types of situations where the tragedy with some of the stuff that ties in with all of it gets a little crazy. Now, the Conjuring 3, I say this, I've been quite frank and open about it.
Mhm.
Watching it, it just went all over the place. I mean, it was jumping too
Yeah,
much for me. It
yeah.
was going from this case to that case and then this, and I'm like sitting there and I'm going, you just intertwined like six or seven other things that I knew about that, and I'm like, but anyhow, that one. Now, the ultimate favorite one of mine is out of that whole Conjuring universe, whatever it is the Nun. And people look at me and they go, the Nun? And I go, I can relate more to that because of the case that it's based off about the possessed nun,
Right.
Borley Rectory, going there and
Mhm.
investigating with them and tying
Yeah.
it all in. Now, the funny thing about the Nun is I was watching it on a flight and we landed 15 minutes before it shut off, and I went, no! I freaked out because I couldn't get to see the last 15 minutes of it. But anyhow, that is probably one of them. I look at that because just the things that it intertwines with. My least favorite is Annabelle because those are
Right.
really blown out of proportion.
I
They're
agree.
just
I agree.
all over the place. But
I agree.
anyhow, that's my honest opinion on any paranormal movie you go to see is going to have Hollywood hype in it. Why? To scare the hell out of you so you can go home and post, go see it, it's scary.
Exactly. Exactly. But the whole thing is but this is something that I've run into like when I've done my library my speaking at libraries and my talks, uh, is that people take what they see in the movies and especially what they see on TV and take
Yes.
a lot of it as gospel. And you
Yes.
can't do that. You have to be able to go and you have to understand it. And let's face it, Johnny, how many times have you fallen asleep in a haunted location? I have fallen asleep in
Oh,
every location I've
yeah.
ever investigated. I've fallen asleep in.
If you ever look, a lot of times you'll see more pictures of me sleeping on locations than you will anything else.
It's true.
There,
It's so
it
true.
was that the running joke, and I started fueling it when we were filming Haunted Collector. Is I would try to find a place to hide to go fall asleep because production would go out of their freaking mind because nobody could find me. And
Yeah.
it got to the point where it was like, okay, I would go into somebody's bed and just bury myself under a throw blanket or something, and nobody could find. And they would freak out because they wouldn't know where the hell I was.
Oh, Johnny,
So
that's so true,
yeah,
so true,
yeah,
so true. Hey,
yeah.
Miss Aida, the beautiful Miss Aida, has asked, "What's the scariest incident that you have ever personally experienced?" This, yeah, I know the answer to this one, so I love it. This is, you got to share this one.
Probably that would be the haunting in Connecticut. When I spent 9.5 weeks on that case, and I was by myself. I was sitting. It was August, just journalizing a few of the events. We didn't have camcorders and all the whoop to do that we have today. But anyhow, everybody was sleeping. It got very cold. I went into the hallway, looked up the staircase, and something started to form. And it literally came down the stairs, and it said, "Do you know what they did to us? Do you know what they did to us?" Well, I was so freaking scared. I ran into the living room. Probably if they had put this in one of them, it would have been so cool. I was mother effing everything up and down, screaming at the top of my lungs. I fell over a chair. I tripped over a coffee table. The only thing, then everybody was waking up at that point in time, as I wanted my car keys to get the hell out of there. For 3 days, I would not speak to anybody. I would not talk to anybody. Finally, Robert Bishop McKenna, which was a very good friend of the entire family, called and asked me what had happened. I explained everything to him, and I went, because I used to call him Bish. I go, "Bish, I'm freaking done with all this shit." And again, he just said to me, "Such, there's our dust." For any of you that don't know, I call him Duster. Yeah, I nickname everybody in case anybody didn't know it. But anyhow, hey Dust. But again, you know, during the course of all that and everything, I explained it to him, and I said, "I'm done. I will never do this work again." He got very quiet. Tim, as you know, with spiritual people,
Right.
they get quiet. You go, "Uh-oh." He said to me, he goes, "John," and I go, "Yes, Bish." He goes, "Are you going to let it win?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Its intent and purpose was to scare you so you would never do this work again." And
Right.
he goes, "Are you going to let it win?" And I went, "Bish, you had to put it to me that way." Did I go back? Yes. Was the exorcism performed and everything was very successful in the haunting in Connecticut? Yes. I've never been back in that house since. And it's not the fact that I think it's haunted. I don't think there's anything left there whatsoever. But I don't know if I really want to look up that staircase and relive that.
I don't blame you.
There's certain things that I take that step back and I just go, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. That's one of those types of scenarios that I would probably take that look at and just I don't know.
Well, you did. I'll tell you what. You did the same thing to me. Do you remember when I was leaving? I was leaving the field. Do you remember that?
Uh,
I always remember.
yes, there was a
I,
couple
I
times, like
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
we were all, we all do that. I'm leaving the field. I've had enough. And of course, I mean, physically at that point, I had surgery and all the other
I
stuff, and I was so
remember.
beat up. And locally, I was getting beat up. We all get beat up by people that may have jealousies or whatever. And I said, I'd had it. I'm just going to finish out this year. And I will never forget, you said to me, he goes, "You've got a lot more to do. At least you should be teaching. You should be out there spreading the word. Even if you're not in the field, you should be doing that. But you do not. You are not one of those people that will do that. You're not going to stop." And I thought, wow. And then a week later, we're all stuck in Detroit, where we all lovingly love to go and get stuck at. Because Johnny and I have spent more time in Detroit than strippers, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that another night. And I always remember Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Love her to
Uh,
death. She came. I don't know if you had talked to her or what. I always, and she's that little. She's just so short, and she was
oh, she
just.
was a little shit. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, she came stomping. And she had them little tiny feet, the little tiny feet. And she came stomping up to me and she put her finger in my face and said, "Are you gonna quit? You're not gonna quit. I heard this." And I was like, I didn't know. And you know what? It's the first time I ever heard Ro ever like yell at me. Like, okay, you can yell at me. I'm used to that. But when Rose said it, and you guys did a pincer movement on me within a week. And I said, "Well, that's it. I'm not leaving. If these two are telling me I have to stay, I gotta stay. I'm afraid what they'll do to me. So I always have to thank you for that. You are always great about that. But now I got another question for you. This came in earlier, and this is something that I kind of preach. locations. Now, there are a lot of people out there that just don't own locations. Like Dan Kless owns this location. He owns Hinsdale House, but he doesn't live there. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't live on the property.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people out there that either live on the property or very close to the property, or they spend, I would say, 80% of their lives on the property.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that this has an adverse effect on their personalities? Because I know myself, I have seen this happen a couple times where it becomes more than a possession. It becomes an obsession.
I feel very, very strongly about the fact that people, a lot of a lot of people do not separate their lives from the paranormal. I
Yes,
think it is not healthy. It is not a good thing. Um, some people, okay, I understand that they buy these pieces of property. A lot of them invest everything they have, and a lot of times they have to live there on the piece of property, and it's a difficult choice,
right.
but I can understand it. Do I think it's a good environment? No, I don't. I think you have to have that separation,
I agree. I
no
agree.
matter what it is, and again, I just recently was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he goes, Johnny, how did you do that all those years? He said, we never even freaking saw your wife, never, saw
Hmm.
anything about your kids, never heard anything about your kids. I said, because my personal life was separate from the paranormal.
Exactly. Same with mine. Same with mine.
Yeah.
You know yourself. How long you met Nancy because we all went out to dinner, and
Hmm.
that's how you met her. But
Yes.
we always kept our family life separate from
Yes.
this work that we did.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't I really nobody knew what I did until I got outed by accident in a newspaper.
Hmm.
And then of course I had some difficulties at work and some other stuff that went on.
Hmm.
But up until that point, nobody knew that what I did. And I think sometimes that's pretty healthy. I really truly do. Because now all of a sudden it's not like, that crazy obsession, that or jealousy, because I know couples that have broken up because someone is doing something that their spouse is not invited to, and there's jealousy involved with it. And I really think that there's inner turmoil, and I think that people really have to be able to go and step away from the field, because it is so addicting. You know as well as I do. You and I could sit in our basements or your barn and never leave for days,
Yeah.
and you have to go and you have to separate. You have to pull yourself away from it,
Yeah.
and I think that's what's so important about it.
I've to this day I still do that, but all the kids are grown and everything, and I look at it as still the same way that I always did when the kids are around or the family's around or anything. I want to talk about the kids. I want to talk about the grandkids. I want to
Right.
talk about what's going on in their lives. I want, and again, it was just I just believe very strongly that you have to be able to separate that. And it scares me when I watch some of these people. It's 24/7
Yeah.
paranormal.
Yeah.
Now, good analogy that can maybe help an individual out. If it can help one person out, that's fine. Look at doctors, look at lawyers, look at nurses. They do that for 10 hours a day. Do they want to go home and, have to live that and talk about what they were involved with all that? No, they do, they have learned to separate their careers from their
Exactly.
personal lives.
Exactly. That is what's so important. And that's something that, we always go, and a lot of people only give it lip service, but family first is always what's important.
Always will
And
be.
and that's the way you have to do it. And the balance is amazing. Andrea Richards, who I love, and she was up there with us at the Hinsdale House. Work stays at work. Balance is key, and that's
Hmm.
exactly it. Okay, now I got another question that had come in. First off, okay, because what she wrote was, "Do clearings actually work?" But I mean, we'll both agree that in most cases, if the intent is correct and you have the right things going on and you assess it, and you take into consideration the religion and the spirituality of the client and this whole thing, yes, they will work. But
Hmm.
she'd like to know the reason for. Oh no, why do they sometimes not work, or why do they have to be redone or reinforced in the future after the initial cleansing? That's a good question, buddy. That I'm glad I'm asking you that one.
Okay. Here's again the best analogy that I've ever come up with. It's like a person recovering from drug addiction or being an alcoholic or going through some type of trauma, in their lives. Hi, Shiloh. Anyways, when you're recovering from that, it's a continuous 24/7 battle. And it's the same thing with paranormal. When you're trying to recover and you're trying to move forward because you don't want to keep going through the hauntings, you have to keep up working. You have to keep up whatever it is you do, whatever you practice, whatever you believe in, to be able to keep things safe,
Right.
mainly yourself or your environment. It's a 24/7 hour job. Just like I said, like anything else, you're recovering from alcoholism, drug abuse, so is going through a haunting. And different things work for different people. And that's what I recommend, as far as things go. And again, it's just okay. Why do you sometimes things have to be redone? I worked on one case, for 4 years, and it took 16 exorcisms to free that woman. But the 16th one finally worked. But
Exactly.
24/7, that woman had to, continuously keep her guard up, and it's like that with every one of these cases. That's why I laugh a lot of times with our genre with a lot of things. You have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end with movies and shows and things like that. Well, not everything ends on a good positive note out there. It's not all kumbaya. I wish it was, but a lot of times there's a lot more that have to
Exactly.
has to go into it.
People
So,
don't people don't realize you can calm stuff down, but you can also amp everything out of proportion. And
oh,
that's
absolutely.
and you know what, Johnny? I mean, and we've talked about this many times. There are a lot of well-meaning people out there that really want to help, but you know what, only go so far, and they sometimes cause more damage than it's worth. Instead, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go burn some sage. Well, if you burn sage without having the right intent, without doing certain things like turning off the power to the house and making sure that you're working from from the bottom up or the upper bottom, and have the window open here or do this or that. I mean,
I
it
know.
can, you know what I mean? Depending on the ritual that you're using, you can cause a can of whoop ass to open up on these poor people. And people don't get that, well meaning, but they go and they screw things up. I got another question coming up for you. And this one I always liked, because I remember I asked you this question even recently. I asked you this question. So this one came in earlier today. Oh, we're moving. Okay, there
There
we
you
are.
go. There you are.
I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy, John. It's a conspiracy. I was thinking too hard, and the internet just jumped. Um, Jeez. I remember this was one of the first things I had asked you, because I remember I had a case in a new build, and it
Uh,
was pretty bad. Why do you think that new builds get infestations? I mean, because of the fact that, I mean, let's face it, one family's lived in there. It's just there. Nobody killed anybody in there. Nobody
mhm.
did a no. No. Johnny and I weren't in the backyard naked dancing around a campfire with dead chickens. None of that stuff happened. Why? are these new builds infested, and I'm seeing, and I hate to say it, but I'm seeing more and more of them lately.
We all are. Again, I think you have to take everything into consideration. You have to take the land into consideration. You and I have talked about this. When somebody calls me up, oh, my house is built
Yeah,
on ancient Indian burial ground, and I go, yeah, all our houses are. You know,
everybody's house is.
so again, it's just the way people interpret things and do things. But anyways, with new builds, again, it could have to do with the property. It could have something to do with something, an item a person had brought in. It could have to do with the individuals, the people living there. There's so many elements
Right,
that you have
right.
to take into consideration. I worked on a development with several multi-million dollar homes that were on this property. Three of them were a total nightmare, and the other houses had no problems. So again, that's a difficult type of a situation to try and interpret. What
Exactly.
is causing some of these issues? So the only thing we could do is go in to investigate and see if we could find out what the actual source is.
And that's where we have to play 1001 questions, and that's why people don't get that it's so important to have a list of questions ready to go to question the client before you go and turn a recorder on. That's what's the important thing. Okay,
Hmm.
I get now. You know what? A lot of people want to know. Uh, okay, what is the first thing? And this is something that goes with it. What is the very first thing that you look for at an active location? Because you and I, we walk into these places and it's like, okay, bang. We approach it differently. I mean, you approach it from one way, and as a medium, because I'm not going to call myself a psychic medium. That's because people are afraid of mediums. I mean, that's just a moniker. As a working medium, I walk into a location and I read the energy and let
Hmm.
the energy tell me kind of what's going on, and then work it from there. So for you, what's the first thing that you look for?
Uh, that's it's a multiple of things because I'm interested in the environment. I'm interested, what's going on within the environment, the surroundings, the property or what's around the bill. There's so much that I take in when trying to, just get I call it my baseline, get my baseline on what is going to happen next, what I'm going to do with some of my questioning or anything, because people that work with me, when I'm out there and I'm interviewing or anything like that, they go, "I've never seen you do it the same twice." He says you're always different.
Exactly.
Your questions are
Exactly.
different. Your attitude can be different. I said it depends. It depends on what I'm walking into, what is happening, and there's just so much I have to look at when getting involved before I actually will make a decision on anything. So that's a toughie for me to answer.
Well, and again, every case is different. There is no, I mean, I read these books that people are well meaning and they write things out, they write these books, how to do investigations and stuff. And the thing that they keep missing is the fact that everyone is different. Every location is different. Every power source in the location is different. Every root cause is different.
Hmm.
So you can do a basic baseline sweep, but you have to be aware of everything else, and that's what people aren't. They just don't get that. I don't know how many times. I mean, it's you just sit there and you go, "Well, what did you look for when you start talking to these different teams?" They're going, "Well, we do this every time, and this is the success rate we've gotten." Well, there is no success rate. What you're doing, throw your percentages right out, the window, because everything is so different. Everything is so different.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question that this is from me. And you know that I am a Malachi Martin fan. I have read his book Jesuits. I have,
You're
I,
seeing them right behind me over
yeah,
there, aren't you?
yeah,
There he
and
is, right
yep,
there.
and I've read his book, and I go and I recommend Hostage to the Devil to
Uh-huh.
anyone who is really interested in demonology, just because I don't per se use the word demon, but anybody that's interested in demonology or the life of other exorcists. Uh,
Hmm.
what was he like in life? I mean, I let me ask you this too. I know that you saw the special. What did you think of the special?
Where
I
is he? Where the
he's there.
hell's the picture?
He's there someplace. Oh,
Oh, there he is.
there he is.
Let's
He's
see if we can. Without, there we go.
there. We go. That's him in the middle with the red sweater.
That's Malachi Martin in the middle. That's
Yep.
Ralph Sarchi and
Yep.
John Zaffis. Malachi Martin, and I used to call him Mal. Uh, he was the quirkiest little guy. I'm telling you, the sense of humor on him was unbelievable. He would joke around, and there were a lot. This brings us back to something we were even talking about earlier. He would only go so far about talking about certain things, and then he would wait to see how you were going to react
Right.
on whether he was going to share any further information. But I had done two investigations for him here in Connecticut, and he had sent me the info, what he needed done, and everything. And I went and investigated both of them. I told him, I said, one, I felt that there was a spiritual issue, and I said, the other one I think is nothing but bull. Well, he gets hysterical laughing on the telephone, and he goes, "Really?" With his, and I go, "Yeah, I just think they're looking for attention." And he goes, "Well, young man," he goes, "you just won my respect." And I go, "Well, why is that?" He goes, "I felt the same exact way, but I was curious to see if you were going to come back and just go, oh, there's demons coming up through the floor with every." I said, "I don't do that with anybody." Yeah, I said, "No, if it's, I call it as it is. And you want to bring 50 other paranormal groups in there, they'll find a demon for
Go
you."
ahead. Go ahead. And it's so true because you know what? I get some people pissed at me. They really get pissed at me when
Oh,
I
me
say,
too.
listen, just because everything, everything is not paranormal for Christ's sake. Get it out of your head. You know, why don't you have somebody go look at that 1,000-year-old water tank you got in the basement? Maybe that's doing it. Or I mean, I did a case with I went
No,
in.
no, no, you don't understand. You don't
Oh, oh
under.
my God. Oh dear God. If Johnny, if I had a friggin' dollar for every time I go, you don't understand. No, I'd be retired. Wait a minute, I am retired. I'm good. But listen, I made so much money for the two of us. We're both retired now. But you know, or
Don't make me choke.
it's so, but Johnny, it's so true. I mean, we laugh about this stuff when we get together. But I mean, I had a case where it was like it felt nasty, it felt bad. This whole thing. And I walked in there, and as I was called in with my friend who was an exorcist, and I'd walked in there, and it was like, yeah, okay, I feel it physically here, but I'm not getting anything. And he's asking me. Went down in the basement, and the basement was chaos, just total chaos. And I took a meter, and I found an outlet that was buzzing and pinging, and there was something wrong with the electrical system in the house. And it was a
Hmm.
newer build. Of course, it's going to come up through the friggin' floorboards. What do you expect? And oh my God, no! When I brought that up to them, I was like Judas. They went and said to my buddy. They go, "Father, that guy that you brought in is a fraud. He's a fake." And he looked at him and he goes, "No, I don't think so. I got a feeling you should really get an electrician to do the house." He goes, "I'll bless the house for you. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but maybe you
Yeah.
should go and do that." I mean, they were just appalled that someone would go and
Oh, yeah.
disagree. And the one thing that I got to tell you, John, I have gotten so many requests for this type of thing mid-September, right, till now. I mean, I've gotten so many, and it's like, and the gift of the gift of discernment that exorcists have, you get it right in the solar plexus. You get the same thing. It's bullshit if you don't get that little buzzing, that little butterfly. And
Uh-huh.
you get these things coming in. It's like, no, you've been watching too much TV. You don't turn off TV, let's see what happens. And people get offended. And I mean, I've tried to be nice, but sometimes it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But what?
I Tim, you got to hear this one story because
Okay.
I think I've shared it with you, but I don't think I really talk about it too much publicly. Um, I help paranormal groups and different things
Hmm.
out. We all do.
Yeah.
And there was this one group, and there were five little children in this house, and they were going back and forth and everything. And I got on, and we started talking, and we were going back and forth and everything. And I'm going, they were determined that there were demons in this house. And I go, look, I've already talked to them and everything. I said, I know, I got a good idea of what's happening and everything. I said, you know, we got to be a little guarded. We got to be cautious. There's five children in there and blah, 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 blah. And this person said to me, now I was sitting on my couch this one night when the call came in, which I very rarely take calls in the house. I usually come outside and take the calls in the barn. But anyhow, I'm sitting there and she goes, you really need to think about this. I think it's time for you to retire. Well, I went, you think it's time for me to retire? I said, you're calling and asking me, and I'm trying to give you advice because there's five little kids in this house because you want a demon coming up to and I'm screaming, and yeah, and I was very vulgar. I will admit that
I
at
can't,
that point in time.
I can't
I
believe
have,
that, John. I can't believe that
I
in you.
to this day, my wife could not get her recliner. She was going, oh no, trying to close her recliner, trying to reach over to grab the phone back away because I'm still screaming, and she's trying to yank the phone out of my hand. And she finally got out of my hand and hung it up and everything. And she turned and looked at me and she goes, I've never heard you go off on somebody that bad before. I go, I've had it. I said, I've had it. I said, that was it. I said, there's five kids involved with
Yeah.
this. No, 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 no. But anyhow, to this day, that still irks me because my wife says at one point I was standing there, sitting there, and the phone's in front of me, and I'm screaming into the phone.
I can't picture it, John. I just can't picture it. Brad Kling actually had a real good point that leaking
Hey,
EMF
buddy.
he can go it can add into a haunting. It can power it. And that's something that, again, after you ascertain, you go through everything that you can possibly go through. Yes, that can be a part of it. And one of the things that when it comes to haunting, a true haunting, I'm going to say a true haunting. I'm one of those
Mm-hmm.
guys that you have to be able to go and I have to experience. I really do, because of the fact that there's so much fraud out there and there's so much. I mean, I remember Jason Hawes always saying that, they would call Roto-Rooter because they wanted Jason Hawes to come and fix their toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, and people want this. People sometimes want attention, but if you have a genuine case and you know it's something, yeah, you start looking for what's powering it. It could be straight EMF coming up. It could be ley lines underneath, the ground. It could be anything. It could, like you said, it could be something that you brought into the house. It could be, and I always tell people, listen, right person, right place, at the right thing, right atmosphere. That could be
Perfect storm.
exactly. We both said at the same time.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
emotions. Brad just wrote in there too. Emotions. That's one thing that
That plays a huge part in it.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you've got to be able to go, and you got to look for that stuff. You got to look for chaos in the house. You got to look for what's going on psychologically, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and medically. You have to worry about medically. You have people that are having some kind of issue. It could be temporary. It
Mm-hmm.
could be something that's just, you got to look for it. And you got
Mm-hmm.
to find it. And that's why I take offense to a lot of, and I'll say, new agers out there. And I have nothing really against them, but the problem is that they go out there and they think that they're going to go and burn a little sage and they're going to ring a bell and it's going to be gone, and they don't realize sometimes the magnitude of what is going on in that place. And sometimes you've got to physically go into a location, remove it. You got to find what's going on. You've got to have it fixed. and
Mm-hmm.
and and there's a whole educational thing that has to be with the client.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, there's just so much. There's so much to it, and just too many. And unfortunately, too many people just don't get it. And that's a shame. Now, Malachi Martin. I'm gonna ask. I want to ask another question of him.
Hmm.
I interviewed so many people that knew Father Alphonsus Trabolt up here at St. Bonaventure,
Yes.
and he, and I was privy. I was able to go into and look at
Hmm.
uh, and read his. He's gone now. He's passed.
Yeah.
But I was able to go into his archives and read and copy everything that was not sealed by the university or the diocese. And it's you're laughing because you know how I am. And everybody I interviewed with him said he was just the most jovial, he had a mischievous smile. He
Yeah.
was just such a
Huh?
wonderful person. Same thing with Malachi, right? I mean, I have to say that, he really, I mean, from what I saw of him in the doc, from what I've read about him, from everything,
Hmm.
he seems to have been able to divorce that part of him where, yeah, when it was work, it was work. But when it wasn't work, he knew enough to be able to let, and what they always say is humor is God's gift to exorcists and demonologists, because without it they would truly perish or not become so effective. He Malachi Martin, he was uh, what when did you ever see him like on the case where his like nose was to the ground? And what was he like when he was just like so focused?
I didn't really get to be around him with that kind of personal
Hmm.
relationship, if you will. Now, there was one conversation, and actually, you're triggering my memory that I had with him, and we were going back and forth. It was on the telephone, and we were going back and forth, and it's funny that you even bring that up. He goes, You have one of the major qualities to be able to sustain doing some of this stuff." And I said, "Well, what's that?" He goes, "You got a wicked sense of humor." He says, "You could take something and spin it and get people to start laughing and bringing that light in on being able, within an environment and circumstances." And I go, "Well, I guess I don't know." But one thing I will say about any exorcist that I've worked with, so many of them have passed away now, because I do honestly believe when it comes to our spiritual people in our lives, no matter what the practice is, I do believe each time that they do something to reach out to help individuals, they lose a piece of themselves every
Agreed.
time.
Agreed.
And it takes its toll on them mentally, physically. Um, I've seen it and I've witnessed it with several very spiritual people, throughout the years, watching them, what it did to them. And again, it's something I think you have to be guarded and careful with when it comes into the spiritual aspect of this. you know, excuse me. Most people don't even realize. I would never perform an exorcism over an individual. Never in a million years
No,
would I do that.
no, neither
Never.
would I.
It is not my place. I don't feel
I
I'm
agree.
pure enough to do something on that level. But again, house clearings or property or bindings and things of that nature, yes. Because again, too, like I said, I've watched and witnessed some of the most beautiful souls, if you will, be eaten away by doing the work that we get involved with and
Oh my God,
helping
yes.
people. And
Oh my God,
I,
yes.
I wouldn't want to walk in their shoes, Tim.
No,
I wouldn't want to walk in their
no.
shoes.
And I think it shortens their lives, and I think health wise it affects them. And
Oh yeah.
let's face it, Johnny. You and I, we've done this for a while. We have war stories that we can tell our health and different things that have happened. And to be able to do that takes a certain type of individual, and they have to be committed beyond just doing the work. There has to be something underlying in them to do that. And I'm not talking about these fly by nights that like never mentored or any under anybody, because let's face it, I've seen lately I've seen another back when we were both working a little bit with Para X. I remember
Yeah.
that there was a lot of exorcists that came up through the ranks, and I would say 99.9% of them are gone. Now I'm starting to see more of them start building up again, and I don't know whether it's for self-aggrandizement or what it is, but I don't feel that it's healthy. It really is healthy, and I don't believe that these people realize what they're getting into. And also, let's also in the when we start thinking about that, it's in the whole realm of attachments. I mean, yes, we can get attachments. It's easy enough to do. Normally, they're not that bad. 4 days, and they're gone. But 4 or 5 days. But people don't realize that even suggesting that a person may have an attachment becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, which not only do you believe it, but well, in basic, let's face it, in basic craft traditions, so you believe, so it is. You can actually bring this stuff to you. And
Law of
that's what,
attraction and the law
yep,
of recognition.
exactly. That's it right there. And
Yeah.
people don't get that. Don't get that. And that's why I think that some of these people out there are doing a disservice and great disservice. And that's why I think that people have to be more careful with it. And again, guys like Malachi Martin, I mean, there's a lot of controversy. He was very controversial in many things, but I think he did the true work, and I think he was great. Now, I got another question for you, Johnny, because listen, I just got your nurse called, and they said that your porridge is ready, and and it's ready to go. Anyway, 'cause I'm not going to keep you all night. I swear to God, but I'm so glad that you stayed, and everybody has just loved everybody. Of course, everybody loves John Zaffis. What can I tell you? I mean, me, he's okay, but everybody else loves you, John. It's the way it works. Uh,
Well, there's a few.
there's a few. Listen, I had to pay $1 to all that few for the people to show up, but that's another story, John. Uh, you know what? Same question. What was Uncle Ed like? I mean, I've read so much about him. I've again, I've seen the docs on him. I've read almost everything. I've read so many of the books. I've seen some of the older, oh my God, the old VHS cassettes. I actually have somebody actually did a bootleg copy and put it on a DVD for me of Ed and Lorraine talking about exorcisms when they were at a college, at a college talk. What was Uncle
Hmm.
Ed like?
Okay, Ed Warren and Warren Miney were two different people, and a lot of people, you know, it's a difficult thing for me because I always knew him as Uncle Warren.
Right.
Yeah, they were my aunt and uncle because everybody always says that. What was it like? What was it? I don't know. They were my aunt and uncle. They talked about ghosts. What do you want me to tell you? It's hard for me. It's hard for me to separate. But the flip side of my uncle, he was a totally different person when you were one on one with him with a lot of individuals
Hmm.
that were very good friends with my uncle, and they would get to know him on a personal level. Because what I used to love more than anything, Tim, is that my uncle was notorious for just showing up at your house, walking in, asking you what you had to eat. Wanted to eat, he would sit there, he would start talking about family, he would start talking about all, everything but the paranormal.
Right.
And then he would get up and he would just walk back out the door. And I would just stand there and go, "What the hell was that all about?" But now I look back on that. God, how I miss that. I miss him just walking in and doing that. And but he was on the flip end of it. There was always motive. If this
Hmm.
makes any sense to you.
It makes a
When
lot of
he
sense. I understand.
when he would do something or throw things out at me, it was always like I would get confused because I wouldn't understand a lot of times because it was very difficult to get clear cut answers out of with a lot of things. But I would look back on it now. He would do it that way because he knew I wasn't going to just sit there and take that. I would go start researching. I would start reading
Right.
about it and blah, blah,
Right.
blah. And then I would go back at him and say, well, blah, 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 blah. And he would look at me and smile. But at that time, I'd be like, son of a gun, you make me freaking work for this crap. But I appreciate that now. I appreciate that now because now I take all that and I
Right.
look at that and I go,
Right.
that's how he taught. That's how he taught me a lot of the things that I know and a lot of the things that I understand. Now, here's a little bit tidbit that I'll share part of it. In 2015, everybody knows I went down and had a heart attack, had a stent, and all that crap put in and everything.
Hmm.
Do you know my uncle and I were the same exact age, and it happened 2 weeks apart?
Wow. Wow.
When I was told that, and when it was shared and um, discussed, it was a very, very. It was just strange. It was very strange. There's a lot more to it, but again, I just want to leave that part of it alone for right now. But
Right.
anyhow, it was just so weird that it occurred in the way that happened. But there was one religious, a priest friend that was very close with the family that had called me also too, and said, "Do you realize how significant that is right now?" And I go, "What are you all talking about that?" And he goes, "Yes."
Yes.
He goes, "You're going to be surprised, but we are." That was 2 weeks, the same age bracket that happened, that your uncle and you had that same thing occur. And I go, "Well," I said, I didn't know what else to say, but anyhow, it's just something I just wanted to share and bring to the forefront on how weird, because we were talking about how sometimes these things affect us and the way they affect us. So,
It's people don't realize that. People do not realize that. People don't have people look at it as like a paper hobby. That's the way I call them. Paper hobbies where you go out there and it's like, okay, I'm just going to go hang out.
hmm
That's not what it is. It becomes more of an intrinsic thing. And once it becomes more intrinsic, I believe that it opens you up emotionally and physically to the spiritual. And I do believe how it affects the physical, the spiritual. People don't get how the spiritual will affect the physical. And
uh,
they only look at it in one, in a myopic view, actually, and I hate to say it, but it's a TV view. And we've both been on TV, so I can't go and I can't knock TV. But because without TV, I would not have gotten a chance to meet you. And a lot of it is that people just don't get it. And what's happening is people need to just go and be open to it. And people have to develop some kind of spirituality. I'm sorry to say it, but you need, and even if you're an atheist, that's still a spirituality. You have to have a belief
people don't get
system.
that.
Yeah.
People don't get that. So
You
again,
know,
I even take the step back with that because again, we live in a world today, Tim, where people just don't believe in any organized religion. They just don't believe in anything, period. And again, I always say, and I still will till the end, is that's up to you. That I'm not judging
exactly.
nobody.
I agree. I
That's
agree
not that's not what I'm
100%.
interested in.
I agree
Yeah?
100%. But you have to have something. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Johnny, I've kept you way too long. And
Are
again,
you kidding? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know what? It's been almost 2 years. We've all been cloistered. I call it cloistered. Again, and we got some time to hang out.
this was great. And everybody loves you. That's all I'm going to tell you. Me, not so much. I'm just it's like I always say. Johnny's the A-lister. I'm down in the CD lister, and you know why I
No,
get
you're not.
and you know why I get put on the same bill with you, Johnny? I'm cheap. I'm cheap. I work for food. Johnny will be driving by and he's going to an event and I'll have a little placard on going, "We'll do psychic readings for food." And Johnny will
Don't
stop and
listen
tip
to
me well.
him. Don't listen to him.
Johnny, just stay on the line for a couple of minutes. I want to thank you properly up there, and I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. And
All right. Hey, it was great. Good to see everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.
oh, I know they did, and I know that people will be asking, to have you back on, and I'll go like this. Maybe. No. We'll talk. We'll just hold on, just for a few seconds, Johnny, and
Okay,
I'll be
buddy.
right there, buddy. And isn't he great? Johnny is one of the I don't know, one of my favorite people in the whole world. I get a chance to work with him. I get a chance to talk with him. I get a chance to pick his mind, pick his brain, and he's just a joy. And thank you. Speaking about joys, thank you all for hanging out as long as you have, because I know it's past everybody's bedtime. We all have to go to work tomorrow. I don't. I'll take pictures of my feet just to prove that I'm not going to be working. Thank you again. First of all, again, thank you again for all the well wishes. I mean, everything is great for me now. Once my body bounces back from the tests, I will be up and around, and I can't wait. And this Thursday, I'm doing a Ouija thing at we're talking Ouija at Paranormal Oddities. And guys, thank you so much. Be kind to each other. Be healthy. Be well. And just what can I say? You've been listening to Tim Shaw here at the Black Cat Lounge, where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. Ciao, babies. I love each and every one of you. Well, most of you anyway. Bye.